The letter trembled in my hands, its crisp folds mocking the shattered pieces of my heart. I stood frozen in Richard's office, the scent of his cologne mingling with the acrid taste of betrayal in my mouth. "Sophia? Are you in there?" Richard's voice echoed from the hallway, jolting me back to reality. I hastily shoved the letter into my pocket, smoothing my hair and plastering on a smile as he entered the room. "Hey, honey, I was just looking for that recipe book I lent you." Richard's brow furrowed. "Oh, right. I think it's in one of these drawers." He moved towards his desk and I felt my pulse quicken. "No worries, I'll find it later," I said, my voice unnaturally high. "How about we go out for dinner tonight? It's been a while since we've had a date night." Richard's eyes darted to his phone. "Actually, Emily just texted. She wants us to pick her up from the airport. Her flight got moved up." "Of course. Emily." I swallowed hard, forcing my smile to stay in place. "That's great. I'll whip up something quick for dinner then." As we drove to the airport, my mind raced. Who was she? How long had it been going on? The words from the letter burned in my memory. "My dearest Richard, these stolen moments with you are never enough." Emily's squeal pierced through my thoughts as she bounded towards us, her designer luggage trailing behind her. "Big brother!" she exclaimed, throwing her arms around Richard. I hung back, watching as they embraced. Emily's eyes finally landed on me, her smile dimming slightly. "Oh, hi, Sophia." "Welcome home, Emily," I said, reaching for her bag. "Here, let me help." "I've got it," she snapped, yanking the handle from my grasp. "I'm not helpless, you know." The drive home was filled with Emily's chatter about her adventures abroad, punctuated by Richard's laughter and encouragement. I sat silently in the back seat, the letter a lead weight in my pocket. As we pulled into the driveway, I noticed a familiar car parked on the street. "Oh, your parents are here," I said, my stomach knotting with dread. Emily rolled her eyes. "Great. I bet Mom's gonna fuss over me all night." If only she knew how lucky she was, I thought bitterly. Inside, Judy and Mark greeted us warmly, though I couldn't help but notice the strain in Judy's smile and the slight tremor in Mark's hands as he hugged Emily. "Sophia, dear," Judy said, turning to me, "would you mind helping me in the kitchen? I brought some casseroles, but they need reheating." I nodded, grateful for the escape, as we worked side by side. Judy's movements were slow and deliberate, her arthritis clearly flaring up. "How are you feeling, Judy?" I asked gently. She waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, you know how it is. These old bones aren't what they used to be." She paused, her voice lowering. "Mark's been having some trouble, too. His memory, well, it's not great." My heart sank. I opened my mouth to respond, but Richard's voice cut through the air. "Sophia, where's dinner?" "Emily's starving after her long flight." I exchanged a weary glance with Judy before calling back. "Coming right up." As I carried the steaming dishes to the dining room, I overheard Emily's hushed voice. "I don't know why you put up with her, Richard. She's so ordinary." I froze, my hand on the doorknob. Richard's response was too low to hear, but his chuckle sent ice through my veins. Taking a deep breath, I pushed open the door, my smile firmly in place. "Dinner's ready, everyone." As I sat down at the table, surrounded by the family I'd given everything for, I felt the weight of the letter in my pocket. Something had to change. I just didn't know what or how yet. I stared at my resignation letter, my finger hovering over the send button. The cursor blinked accusingly, as if asking, "Are you sure about this, Sophia?" No, I wasn't sure, but Richard's words from last night echoed in my head. "Honey, don't you think it's time you focused on our home? My sister and parents need you. We need you." With a deep breath, I clicked send. Just like that, my career vanished into the ether. The bedroom door creaked open, and Richard's head poked in. "Everything okay? You've been in here a while." I forced a smile. "All done. I've officially resigned." His face lit up as he crossed the room, enveloping me in a hug that felt more suffocating than comforting. "That's my girl. You're doing the right thing, Sophia. This is what's best for our family." Our family. The word stung, reminding me of the letter hidden in my dresser drawer. I pulled away, busying myself with organizing the desk. "So, when do we move in with your parents?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "This weekend," Richard replied. "Emily's already there helping them pack up some things." Of course she was. I back a sarcastic remark. "That's thoughtful of her." Richard's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, a small frown creasing his brow. "Speaking of Emily, she needs some help. I'm gonna head over there now. You'll be okay packing up here, right?" Before I could respond, he was already halfway out the door, leaving me alone with the echoes of my shattered dreams. The next few days passed in a blur of cardboard boxes and packing tape. By Saturday morning, we were pulling into Richard's parents' driveway, our car laden with the remnants of our old life. Emily stood on the porch, her arms crossed. Finally! I've been waiting all morning. There's so much to do, and Mom and Dad are useless. I bit my tongue, reminding myself that this was for the best, for the family. As we unloaded the car, I noticed Mark struggling with a box, his hands shaking. I rushed over, gently taking it from him. "Let me help you with that, Mark." He looked at me, confusion clouding his eyes. Who are you again?" My heart sank. Judy had mentioned his memory issues, but I hadn't realized how bad they'd gotten. "It's me, Sophia, Richard's wife," I said softly. Recognition flickered in his gaze. "Oh yes, of course. Thank you, dear." From behind us, Emily's voice rang out. "Sophia, stop chatting and come help me with these curtains. They're not going to hang themselves." I shared a weary glance with Mark before heading inside. Judy was in the kitchen, attempting to prepare lunch with trembling hands. "Here, let me take over," I offered, gently guiding her to a chair. She sighed gratefully. "You're a godsend, Sophia. I don't know how we'd manage without you." As I chopped vegetables, I couldn't help but wonder, how had they been managing before? And why was it suddenly my responsibility? The day wore on, filled with unpacking, organizing, and a constant stream of demands from Emily. By evening, exhaustion had settled deep in my bones. I found Richard in the study, engrossed in his laptop. "Hey," I said softly, "I was thinking maybe we could order in tonight. Everyone's tired and—" "No need," he interrupted, not looking up. "Emily's already started cooking. She says you've been too busy to handle dinner." I stood there, stunned. "But I've been unpacking all day. When did she—" "Look, Sophia," Richard said, finally meeting my gaze. "I know this is an adjustment, but Emily's really stepping up. Maybe you could learn a thing or two from her, yeah?" The words hit me like a physical blow. I opened my mouth to argue, to defend myself, but the fight drained out of me. What was the point? As I turned to leave, my eye caught a glimpse of Richard's phone screen. A text message preview glowed ominously. "Missing you already. Can't wait for our next." The rest was cut off, but it was enough. My suspicions confirmed, I stumbled out of the room, my world tilting on its axis. In the hallway, I leaned against the wall, struggling to breathe. What had I done? I'd given up everything. My career, my independence, for a man who didn't even respect me enough to hide his infidelity. From the kitchen, I heard Emily's laughter, punctuated by the clatter of pots and pans. This was my life now. But for how long? As I straightened up, wiping away a stray tear, I made a silent vow. This wouldn't be forever. Somehow, someway, I would find a way out. I had to. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window, mocking my sleepless night. I'd spent hours tossing and turning, Richard's infidelity and Emily's constant demands swirling in my mind. Now, as I prepared breakfast for the household, exhaustion clung to me like a second skin. "Sophia!" Emily's shrill voice pierced the air. "Where's my green smoothie?" I bit back a sigh. "Coming, Emily. Just finishing up Mark's oatmeal." She appeared in the doorway, perfectly coiffed despite the early hour. "I need it now. I have yoga in 20 minutes. "Of course," I muttered, abandoning the oatmeal to blend her smoothie. As I handed her the glass, she wrinkled her nose. "Ah, did you use the right protein powder? This looks off." Before I could respond, Judy shuffled into the kitchen, her movements slow and pained. "Good morning, dears. Sophia, have you seen my pills? I can't seem to find them." "They're on your nightstand, Mom," Emily said, rolling her eyes. "Sophia, shouldn't you have reminded her?" I clenched my jaw, forcing a smile. "I'll go get them for you, Judy." As I climbed the stairs, I heard Emily's voice drift up. "Honestly, what would you do without me? Sophia's so scatterbrained lately." Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them away. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. The day dragged on, a blur of chores and thinly veiled insults. By afternoon, I was desperate for a moment of peace. I slipped out to the garden, hoping to catch my breath. To my surprise, Mark was there, staring at a rosebush with a puzzled expression. "Mark?" I approached him cautiously. "Are you okay?" He turned to me, confusion clouding his eyes. I can't remember how to prune these. I've done it for years, but now my heart ached for him. "It's all right," I said gently. "Why don't we do it together?" As we worked side by side, Mark's hands steadied. He smiled at me, a glimmer of his old self shining through. "You know, you remind me of someone. Someone kind." "It's me, Mark. Sophia," I reminded him softly. Recognition flickered in his gaze. "Ah, yes, Richard's wife. You're a good girl, Sophia. Don't let them change you." Before I could ask what he meant, Emily's voice shattered the moment. There you are, I've been looking everywhere. The living room needs vacuuming, and Richard wants to know what's for dinner. I stood, brushing dirt from my knees. I'll be right there. As I turned to go, Mark grabbed my hand. Remember, he whispered, you're stronger than they know. His words echoed in my mind as I trudged back to the house. Was I strong? Or was I just a doormat? That evening, as I prepared dinner, Richard sauntered into the kitchen. Smells good in here, he said, reaching for a taste. I swatted his hand away playfully, almost forgetting our problems for a moment. You'll have to wait like everyone else. He chuckled, then his expression turned serious. Listen, Sophia, I've been thinking. Maybe we should look into getting some help around here. My heart leapt. Finally, he was seeing how overwhelmed I was. That would be wonderful, I started, but he cut me off. Great, I'll ask Emily to start interviewing housekeepers tomorrow. You could use the extra hand, and it'll free you up to focus more on Mom and Dad's care. The knife I was holding clattered to the counter. What? But I thought... Richard frowned. Thought what? This is the perfect solution. Emily's got great taste. She'll find someone suitable. As if summoned, Emily breezed into the kitchen. Ooh, are we talking about the new housekeeper? I have some great candidates in mind already. I stood there, stunned, as they discussed my replacement as if I weren't even in the room. The injustice of it all bubbled up inside me, threatening to spill over. No, I said quietly. They both turned to look at me. What was that? Richard asked. I took a deep breath, Mark's words echoing in my ears. You're stronger than they know. I said no, I won't be pushed aside in my own home. If anyone's going to hire help, it'll be me. Emily's eyes widened in shock, while Richard's narrowed dangerously. Sophia, he said, his voice low and warning. Don't be difficult. We're trying to help you. I met his gaze, standing my ground. Are you, or are you just trying to replace me? The tension in the room was palpable, crackling like electricity. For the first time in months, I felt a spark of my old self igniting. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew one thing for certain. This was far from over. The days following my stand in the kitchen blurred together in a haze of tension and icy silence. Richard barely looked at me, while Emily's demands grew more outrageous by the hour. But I refused to back down. I was done being their doormat. One morning, as I was helping Judy with her physical therapy exercises, Emily burst into the room, her face flushed with anger. Sophia, why isn't my laundry done? I need my blue dress for tonight's party. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I'm sorry, Emily, but I'm busy helping your mother right now. Your laundry will have to wait. Emily's eyes narrowed dangerously. Excuse me, I don't think you understand your place here. You're nothing but a glorified maid. The words stung. But I held my ground. I'm Richard's wife and your sister-in-law. I'm here to help your parents, not to be your personal servant. How dare you? Emily shrieked. She turned to Judy, who was watching the exchange with wide, fearful eyes. Mom, are you hearing this? She's refusing to do her job. Judy opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She looked between us, helpless and confused. That's enough, I snapped, my patience finally breaking. Judy needs her rest. We can discuss this later. I ushered Emily out of the room, ignoring her protests. As I closed the door behind us, I came face to face with Richard. What's going on here? He demanded, his eyes cold. Emily immediately latched onto his arm. Richard, Sophia's being impossible. She won't do my laundry, and she was so rude to Mom. I felt a flicker of hope as Richard turned to me. Surely he'd see through Emily's lies. But my heart sank as I saw the familiar look of disappointment settle on his face. Sophia, we've talked about this, he said, his voice low and threatening. Your job is to take care of this family, all of us. Is that really so hard to understand? Something inside me snapped. My job? My job? I gave up my career for this family. I've been cooking, cleaning, and caring for your parents around the clock. And what have you done, Richard, besides favoring your sister and sneaking around with other women? The words hung in the air, heavy and damning. Richard's face paled, while Emily gasped dramatically. What are you talking about? Richard sputtered, but the guilt in his eyes gave him away. I laughed bitterly. I found the letter, Richard. I know about your affair. How long has it been going on? Does Emily know? Does she approve of her perfect brother cheating on his wife? That Emily's shocked expression quickly morphed into a sneer. Well, can you blame him? Look at you, Sophia. You're hardly wife material anymore. Her words cut deep, but I refused to let them see me cry. I'm done, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. Done with both of you and your manipulations. I'm here for Judy and Mark, not to be your punching bag. I turned on my heel and stormed off, leaving them gaping in the hallway. As I reached the sanctuary of my room, I heard Richard's footsteps behind me. "Sophia." "Wait," he called, his voice softer now. "Let's talk about this. We can work it out." I whirled around to face him. "Work what out, Richard? Your affair? The way you and Emily treat me? Or the fact that I've become nothing more than a servant in my own home?" He reached for me, but I stepped back. "I love you, Sophia. You know that, right?" For a moment, I wavered. Part of me wanted to believe him, to fall into his arms and pretend everything was okay. But then I remembered the letter, Emily's cruel words, and the countless times he'd chosen his sister over me. "No, Richard," I said quietly. "I don't think you do. And I'm not sure I love you anymore either." The shock on his face was almost comical. He opened his mouth to speak, but I held up a hand to stop him. "I need time to think," I said. "About us, about this whole situation. I can't keep living like this." As I closed the door in his face, I leaned against it, my heart pounding. I'd finally said the words I'd been holding back for so long. Now I had a decision to make. Stay and continue this charade of a marriage, or find the strength to walk away and reclaim my life. Whatever I chose, I knew one thing for certain: things would never be the same again. The tension in the house was palpable as I prepared for the weekly family dinner. My confrontation with Richard and Emily had left an uneasy truce, but I knew it was only a matter of time before something snapped. As I set the table, my hands trembling slightly, Judy shuffled into the dining room. "Sophia, dear," she said, her voice weak. "I'm not feeling well. I don't think I can make it to dinner." I rushed to her side, concern etched on my face. "What's wrong, Judy? Do you need to see a doctor?" She waved me off. No, just tired. But could you bring me some soup later?" I nodded, helping her back to her room. As I tucked her in, she grabbed my hand. "You're a good girl, Sophia. Don't let them tell you otherwise." Her words warmed my heart, but as I closed her door, I heard Emily's shrill voice from downstairs. "Sophia? Where's dinner? We're all waiting." Taking a deep breath, I descended the stairs. Richard, Emily, and Mark were already seated at the table, looking impatient. "Sorry for the delay," I said, placing the dishes on the table. "Judy isn't feeling well, so she'll be eating in her room." Emily rolled her eyes. "Typical. She's always finding excuses to avoid family time." I bit my tongue, focusing on serving the food instead of responding to her callousness. As we ate, the silence was oppressive. Richard kept glancing at his phone, while Emily picked at her food with a look of disdain. Finally, Mark spoke up. "This is delicious, Sophia. You've outdone yourself." I smiled gratefully at him, but Emily scoffed. "Please, Dad, it's just pot roast. Anyone could make this." "Then why don't you try cooking sometime?" I snapped, my patience wearing thin. Emily's eyes widened in mock surprise. "Me? Cook? That's what we keep you around for, isn't it?" Richard cleared his throat. "Emily, that's enough." For a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Was he finally going to stand up for me? But then he continued. "Sophia knows her role in this family. There's no need to remind her." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. "My role?" I said, my voice shaking with anger. "And what exactly is that, Richard? To be your personal maid? Your punching bag?" Emily smirked. "Well, you're certainly not here for your sparkling personality." Something inside me snapped. "That's rich coming from you, Emily, the perpetual child who can't even do her own laundry. And you," I turned to Richard, "the cheating husband who can't see past his sister's manipulations. You two deserve each other." The room fell silent, shock written across their faces. Even Mark looked up from his plate, a hint of pride in his eyes. Richard stood slowly, his face red with anger. "Sophia, I think you need to calm down and remember your place." "My place?" I laughed bitterly. "I gave up everything for this family. My career, my independence, my self-respect. And for what? To be treated like dirt?" I turned to leave, but Emily's voice stopped me. "Go ahead, run away. It's what you're good at. You can't handle being part of this family because you know you'll never truly belong." Her words cut deep, but as I looked at their smug faces, something shifted inside me. I was done being their victim. "You're right, Emily," I said calmly. "I don't belong in this toxic environment, and it's about time I did something about it." With that, I walked out of the dining room, ignoring Richard's calls for me to come back. As I climbed the stairs, a plan began to form in my mind. I couldn't leave Judy and Mark in this hellish situation, but I couldn't stay either. I reached for my phone, scrolling through my contacts until I found the number I was looking for. My old colleague from the nursing home where I used to volunteer. As the phone rang, I took a deep breath. This was it. the point of no return. "Hello?" a friendly voice answered. "Hi, Sarah," I said, my voice steady with newfound determination. "It's Sophia. I need your help with something." As I explained my plan, a weight lifted from my shoulders. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. I didn't know exactly what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain. I was taking back control of my life, starting now. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of secret phone calls and clandestine meetings. Sarah had come through with information on Sunset Grove, a top-rated nursing home known for its compassionate care. It was perfect for Judy and Mark, but the cost was astronomical. I knew what I had to do. One afternoon, while Richard was at work and Emily was out shopping, I slipped into the study. My hands shook as I logged into the family's joint account. The balance made my eyes widen. Years of Richard's successful career had left a substantial nest egg. I took a deep breath and initiated the transfer. As I watched the funds move, guilt gnawed at me. Was I doing the right thing? But then I remembered Judy's frail form, Mark's confused eyes, and the constant barrage of insults from Richard and Emily. This wasn't just about me anymore. The next day, I took Judy and Mark for a day trip to Sunset Grove. As we toured the facility, I watched their faces carefully. "It's lovely here," Judy said, her eyes bright for the first time in months. "So peaceful." Mark nodded, actually smiling. "Reminds me of our first home, doesn't it, dear?" My heart swelled. This was the right decision. As we prepared to leave, I pulled the director aside. "They'll be moving in next week," I whispered. "I've already made the arrangements." She nodded, understanding in her eyes. "We'll take good care of them, Mrs. Thompson." Back at home, I threw myself into preparations. I packed Judy and Mark's belongings bit by bit, hiding suitcases in the back of my car. Richard and Emily were too self-absorbed to notice anything amiss. The night before the big move, I sat with Judy and Mark in their room, my heart heavy. "I need to tell you something," I began, my voice trembling. "Tomorrow you're going to move to Sunset Grove. Permanently." Judy gasped while Mark looked confused. I hurried on. "It's for the best. You'll be well cared for there, away from all of this." To my surprise, Judy reached out and squeezed my hand. "We know, dear. We've seen how they treat you. This isn't the life we wanted for any of us." Tears sprang to my eyes. "You knew?" Mark nodded slowly. "We may be old, but we're not blind. You're doing the right thing, Sophia." Their understanding and support overwhelmed me. I hugged them both, choking back sobs. The next morning, I woke before dawn. Richard was still asleep, oblivious to the upheaval about to occur. I helped Judy and Mark dress and guided them quietly to my car. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of the house in my rearview mirror. For a moment, I hesitated. Was I really going through with this? Then Emily's cruel words echoed in my mind. "You'll never truly belong." My resolve hardened. There was no turning back now. At Sunset Grove, the staff welcomed Judy and Mark warmly. As I helped them settle into their new room, a weight lifted from my shoulders. They would be safe here, cared for properly. "Sophia," Judy said as I prepared to leave. "What about you? Where will you go?" I forced a smile. "Don't worry about me. I'll be fine." But as I walked to my car, panic set in. What had I done? I'd spent nearly all of our savings, relocated Richard's parents without his knowledge, and was about to blow up my entire life. For a moment, I considered driving back, begging forgiveness, and trying to undo it all. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Richard. "Where are you? Mom and Dad aren't in their room. Emily's furious that breakfast isn't ready." In that moment, everything crystallized. I couldn't go back. Not to that life, not to that version of myself. With shaking hands, I typed out a response. "We need to talk. I'm on my way home." As I drove back to the house, my mind raced. How would Richard react? What would Emily do? But beneath the fear, a spark of excitement ignited. For the first time in years, I was taking control of my life. Whatever happened next, I was ready to face it head on. My hands shook as I pulled into the driveway. Richard's car was there, and I could see Emily's silhouette pacing in the living room. This was it, the moment of truth. I took a deep breath and stepped out of the car. Before I could reach the front door, it flew open. Richard stood there, his face a mask of fury. "Where the hell have you been?" he growled. "And where are my parents?" I squared my shoulders and met his gaze. "We need to talk, all of us." Emily appeared behind him, her eyes narrowed. "What have you done, Sophia?" I brushed past them and walked into the living room. My heart was pounding, but I refused to show fear. "Sit down," I said, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Reluctantly, they complied. I remained standing, drawing strength from my newfound resolve. Judy and Mark are safe, I began. They're at Sunset Grove Nursing Home. I moved them there this morning. The explosion was immediate. Richard leapt to his feet, his face red with rage. You did what? How dare you make decisions about my parents without consulting me? Emily's shrill voice joined in. I knew it. I knew you were up to something. You had no right. I held up my hand, silencing them both. I had every right. I've been the one taking care of them day in and day out while you two barely acknowledged their existence. They deserve better than this toxic environment. Richard's eyes narrowed dangerously. And how exactly did you pay for this nursing home? Here it was, the moment of no return. I used the money from our joint account. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Richard exploded again, his voice rising to a roar. You stole from me? That's my money, Sophia! Mine! Our money, I corrected, my voice ice cold. Or have you forgotten that I gave up my career to be here? To take care of your family while you gallivanted around with other women? Emily gasped, her eyes darting between Richard and me. What is she talking about, Richard? I laughed bitterly. Oh, he didn't tell you? Your perfect brother has been cheating on me. I found the letter, Richard. I know everything. Richard's face paled, then flushed with anger. You had no right to go through my things. And you had no right to betray our marriage. I shot back. Emily, for once, seemed at a loss for words. She sank back into the couch, her smug expression replaced by shock. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what came next. I'm leaving, Richard. I want a divorce. The words hung in the air, heavy with finality. Richard stared at me, disbelief etched on his face. You can't be serious, after everything I've done for you? I laughed, a hollow sound. Done for me? You've belittled me, ignored me, and treated me like a servant. Well, I'm done. I deserve better than this, better than you. I turned to Emily, who was still sitting in stunned silence. And you. I tried so hard to be a sister to you, but you never saw me as anything more than the help. I hope you're happy with the mess you've made. With shaking hands, I pulled out an envelope from my purse. This is my farewell letter. It explains everything, where Judy and Mark are, why I left, and what I've done with the money. I've left enough in the account for you to live on while you figure things out. I placed the envelope on the coffee table and turned to leave. Richard grabbed my arm, his grip painfully tight. You can't just walk away from this family, Sophia. We need you. For a moment, I wavered. Years of conditioning made me want to give in, to apologize, and try to make things right. But then I remembered the peace on Judy and Mark's faces at Sunset Grove, the way I felt when I finally stood up for myself. I wrenched my arm free. No, Richard, you don't need me. You need a punching bag, a scapegoat, and I won't be that anymore. With those words, I walked out of the house, ignoring Richard's shouts and Emily's sudden desperate pleas for me to come back. As I got into my car, I caught a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror. For the first time in years, I saw strength in my eyes. As I drove away, leaving behind the life I'd known, I felt a mix of terror and exhilaration. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain. I was finally free. 6 months had passed since I'd walked out of Richard's life. I stood in front of the mirror in my new apartment, barely recognizing the woman staring back at me. Gone was the timid, beaten-down housewife. In her place stood a confident, self-assured professional. My phone buzzed with a text from Tina, my new colleague and fast friend. Ready for the big presentation? I smiled, typing back a quick, you bet. Before I could set the phone down, it rang. The caller ID made my heart skip a beat. Sunset Grove. Hello? I answered, my voice tight with worry. Mrs. Thompson? The nurse's voice was gentle. I'm calling about your in-laws, Judy and Mark. They've been asking to see you. I hesitated, memories of my last confrontation with Richard flooding back. Are they okay? They're fine, she assured me. But they miss you. And there's someone else here to see you too. My breath caught in my throat. Who? It's Emily, Richard's sister. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Emily? Here? After everything that had happened? I'll be there in an hour, I heard myself say. The drive to Sunset Grove was a blur of conflicting emotions. As I walked through the familiar doors, I steeled myself for whatever was coming. I found them in the garden, Judy and Mark sitting on a bench, with Emily pacing nearby. When she saw me, she froze. Sophia, she breathed, her eyes wide. You came. I nodded stiffly, turning my attention to Judy and Mark. Their faces lit up as I approached, and I felt a pang of guilt for staying away so long. Oh, Sophia, Judy cried, reaching for my hand. We've missed you so much. Mark nodded, his eyes clearer than I'd seen them in years. You did right by us, girl. We're happy here. Tears pricked my eyes as I hugged them both. When I straightened, I found Emily watching us, her expression unreadable. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. Against my better judgment, I nodded. We walked to a quiet corner of the garden, tension thick between us. "I owe you an apology," Emily began, her voice shaking. "I was horrible to you, Sophia. I was jealous and insecure, and I took it out on you. I'm so sorry." I stared at her, stunned. This wasn't the Emily I knew. "What changed?" I asked cautiously. She laughed bitterly. "After you left, Richard fell apart. He couldn't handle the simplest tasks without you. And I realized how much we'd both taken you for granted." My heart clenched. "And Richard, where is he now?" Emily's eyes filled with tears. "He's in rehab. The drinking got bad after you left, but he's getting help now. He wants to make amends if you'll let him." I took a deep breath, processing this information. "I'm glad he's getting help, but I can't go back, Emily. That life, it nearly destroyed me." She nodded, understanding in her eyes. "I know, and I don't expect you to. I just wanted you to know how sorry we are, and how much you've taught us." As we walked back to Judy and Mark, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The anger and resentment I'd been carrying began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of peace. "Will you visit more often?" Judy asked hopefully as we said our goodbyes. I smiled, squeezing her hand. "I will. I promise." As I drove home, my phone buzzed again. It was Tina, reminding me about our presentation. I realized with a start that I'd almost forgotten about work in the emotional whirlwind of the day. But as I walked into the office, head held high, I felt a surge of pride. This was my life now. A life I'd built for myself, on my own terms. The presentation went flawlessly. As my colleagues congratulated me, I caught my reflection in the conference room window. The woman looking back at me was strong, capable, and unafraid. That evening, as I sat on my balcony watching the sunset, I thought about how far I'd come. I'd lost a husband, but I'd gained myself. I'd walked away from a toxic situation and built a new life from the ashes of the old. My phone buzzed one last time. It was a text from Emily. "Thank you for showing us what real strength looks like." I smiled, feeling a sense of closure wash over me. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years, I was excited to see where it would lead. I had risen from the ashes, stronger and more resilient than ever before. And that, I realized, was the greatest victory of all.